I dedicated my life to teaching high school students the craft of woodworking, a passion that filled me with purpose every day. For 3 years, I built a life with Natalie, a corporate attorney climbing the ranks at her prestigious firm. When I placed that diamond ring on her finger, I truly believed we were partners, who respected each other completely. Little did I know that a single evening at her law firm holiday party would reveal the truth behind her smiles and apparent support. Sometimes the most painful revelations happen in rooms full of strangers wearing expensive suits. Before I share how I discovered my fiancé's true feelings about the life we were building together, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Hit subscribe if you believe respect is non-negotiable in relationships. Woodworking has been in my blood since I was 8 years old. My grandfather would invite me into his workshop on weekends, patiently teaching me how different woods felt in your hands, how tools could transform raw material into something beautiful and functional. Those childhood lessons shaped my entire future. After graduating with a teaching degree and specialized certification in industrial arts, I landed my dream job at Westlake High School. For 7 years, I built a woodshop program that became my pride and joy. Nothing compared to the satisfaction of watching teenagers discover their ability to create something tangible with their own hands. Many of my students found confidence in my classroom they never experienced in traditional academic settings. Several even pursued careers in furniture making, construction, or design after graduation. I met Natalie 4 years ago at my college roommate Dave's summer barbecue. She stood out immediately with her confident presence and quick wit. When Dave introduced us explaining I was a woodshop teacher, Natalie seemed genuinely interested, asking thoughtful questions about my program and students. That conversation lasted hours, stretching from afternoon sunshine to evening stars. Natalie was finishing her law degree at the time, already lined up for an associate position at Harrington & Blake, one of the most prestigious corporate law firms in the city. Our different career paths never seemed to matter in those early days. We complemented each other perfectly, her ambition and analytical mind, balanced by my creativity and steadiness. During our first year together, I supported her through brutal hours studying for the bar exam. When she passed, I built her a custom walnut desk as a celebration gift. She cried when I delivered it, saying it was the most thoughtful present anyone had ever given her. Once she started at the firm, I understood the long hours and stress that came with her position. I made our apartment a sanctuary where she could decompress, often preparing late dinners that would be waiting when she returned from the office. I was genuinely proud of every promotion and accomplishment. When she won her first major case, I surprised her with champagne and spent weeks listening to her explain the complex legal strategies she had developed. Her intelligence amazed me, and I never felt diminished by her growing success. The differences in our income were substantial and sometimes created tensions. My teacher's salary provided a comfortable life, but nothing like the luxury her law firm position afforded. We had conversations about finances early on, agreeing to split expenses proportionally. I never wanted to feel like I was taking advantage of her higher earnings, maintaining my financial independence as much as possible. 6 months ago, I decided it was time to propose. I spent nearly a year saving for the perfect ring, often picking up weekend furniture restoration jobs to add to my ring fund without Natalie noticing. I planned a weekend getaway to Vermont during fall foliage season, proposing at sunset on Mount Mansfield. When I knelt and opened the box, her eyes widened with genuine joy. The diamond wasn't as large as what her colleagues sported, but the vintage setting was exactly her style. She said yes immediately, jumping into my arms with tears streaming down her face. Wedding planning began almost immediately, and that was when I noticed subtle changes. Discussions about venues quickly revealed different visions. I suggested a meaningful ceremony at my grandfather's restored barn, while Natalie pushed for an exclusive downtown hotel that cost more than my annual salary. Conversations about guest lists, catering, and honeymoon locations often ended with tense compromises. As Natalie rose through the ranks at Harrington & Blake, her social circle increasingly consisted of fellow attorneys and financial professionals. I attended dinners where conversations revolved around vacation homes, investment portfolios, and law firm politics. I tried to contribute meaningfully, but often felt invisible as discussions moved to legal precedents or industry gossip. I noticed Natalie began introducing me differently at these gatherings. In our early relationship, she would proudly explain my teaching work. Gradually, those introductions became briefer sometimes, omitting my profession entirely. When pressed by her colleagues, she would quickly change the subject or frame my career as a temporary position. Despite these concerning signals, I believed our foundation remained strong. In private moments, Natalie still expressed appreciation for my stability and passion. She would curl against me after particularly difficult workdays, saying I kept her grounded in what really mattered. I interpreted her public reticence as professional self-preservation in a cutthroat environment, not a reflection of her true feelings. The annual holiday party at Harrington and Blake was apparently the networking event of the season. Partners evaluated associates in social settings, making impressions that could affect year-end bonuses and promotion tracks. Natalie stressed the importance of making a good impression for weeks beforehand. I bought a new suit, researched recent major cases the firm had handled, and practiced small talk about topics that might interest senior partners. All I wanted was to support the woman I loved at an event important to her career. I never imagined it would be the night our relationship shattered beyond repair. The Harrington and Blake building dominated the downtown skyline, 60 floors of gleaming glass and steel that seemed to touch the winter clouds. Walking through the marble lobby, I adjusted my tie nervously, while Natalie strode confidently toward the private elevator bank. She looked stunning in a deep burgundy dress that probably cost more than 3 months of my mortgage payments. The party occupied the entire top floor, transformed into a winter wonderland, with crystal decorations, ice sculptures, and white floral arrangements that must have cost a fortune. A string quartet played in one corner, while uniformed servers circulated with champagne and elaborate appetizers. Looking around, I estimated at least 200 people filled the space, the men in tailored suits and women in designer dresses that sparkled under the chandeliers. Natalie squeezed my hand briefly, before spotting Harold Fitzgerald, the senior partner, overseeing her current case. With a quick whisper of "I need to say hello, grab us drinks," she disappeared into the crowd, leaving me standing alone near the entrance. I made my way to the bar, ordering champagne for both of us, then scanned the room for familiar faces from previous firm events. For the next hour, I trailed Natalie as she worked the room. She would include me briefly in introductions before diving into firm business, effectively sidelining me from conversations. I caught fragments of salary discussions that made my annual teacher's income sound like pocket change. One associate casually mentioned the ski chalet his family had purchased in Aspen, while another debated the relative merits of private schools for their toddlers. When Natalie became engrossed in conversation with the managing partner, I drifted toward a less crowded corner of the room. That was where I met Thomas, a junior associate, who seemed as out of place as I felt. Unlike the others, he asked genuine questions about my teaching experience. "My brother is a middle school science teacher," Thomas confided. "Hardest working guy. I know makes more difference in the world than most of us here. This firm could use more people who understand real life outside these glass walls." Our conversation provided welcome relief, until Natalie appeared looking slightly annoyed to find me chatting rather than networking. She pulled me toward another group, introducing me to Marissa, head of the corporate litigation department. When Marissa asked what I did, Natalie smoothly changed the subject before I could answer, redirecting the conversation to their upcoming case preparations. The pattern repeated throughout the evening. With each introduction, Natalie seemed increasingly reluctant to mention my profession. When cornered into explaining, she would vaguely reference education without specifics, then quickly pivot. As the night progressed, I noticed her champagne consumption increasing, her laughter becoming louder, her gestures more expansive. Around 9:30, I found myself alone at the bar again, nursing a whiskey and watching Natalie across the room. She stood with Gerald Watts, the firm's founding partner, his wife Eleanor, and several other senior attorneys. They were laughing at something, glasses raised in apparent celebration. I decided to join them, thinking it might be my opportunity to actually engage in a meaningful conversation. As I approached, Eleanor's voice carried clearly above the ambient noise. "So, tell me about wedding plans, dear. And what does your fiancé do again?" I slowed my steps, curious about how Natalie would respond when she thought I was out of earshot. What I heard stopped me cold. Natalie laughed, the sound brittle and unfamiliar. "Booker teaches woodshop at a public high school. Can you believe it? Spends his days showing teenagers how to make birdhouses and cutting boards." The group chuckled, and Gerald's wife raised perfectly shaped eyebrows. "How quaint. And is that something he plans to continue long-term?" "It's just a phase until we're married," Natalie responded with dismissive confidence. "I'm working on getting him into something more substantial. After all, I close million-dollar deals while he grades shop projects." The laughter that followed felt like physical blows landing against my chest. Gerald clapped Natalie's shoulder approvingly. "My brother runs corporate training at Apex Insurance. Always looking for people with teaching backgrounds to move into the private sector. Much better compensation package. Proper career advancement. Thank God, Natalie exclaimed, lowering her voice slightly, but not enough. I can't imagine telling our children their father is just a shop teacher. We have appearances to maintain. The crystal tumbler nearly slipped from my fingers as a cold numbness spread through my body. Every muscle tensed as their laughter continued oblivious to my presence, just steps away. In that horrible moment, I realized this wasn't a one-time comment fueled by alcohol and peer pressure. This was her authentic perspective, one she had carefully hidden from me while apparently sharing freely with colleagues. Fragments of past conversations suddenly replayed with new clarity. Her subtle suggestions about administration positions, casual mentions of alternative careers, questions about whether I felt fulfilled in my current situation. What I had interpreted as interest in my happiness had actually been groundwork for molding me into someone she wouldn't be embarrassed to introduce at gatherings like this. I stood frozen and visible to the group, still laughing at my life's work, trying to decide whether to simply walk away or confront the situation. The pain of betrayal nearly overwhelmed me, but something deeper stirred beneath the hurt, a profound certainty that I deserved better than this. The career they mockingly dismissed had shaped countless young lives, preserved traditional craftsmanship, and brought me genuine fulfillment every single day. If Natalie couldn't recognize that value, perhaps she never truly knew me at all. Taking a steadying breath, I approached the circle of laughing attorneys. Their conversation halted abruptly as they noticed my presence. Natalie's expression transformed instantly from carefree amusement to horrified recognition, color draining from her face as she realized what I must have overheard. "Honey," she exclaimed with forced brightness. "I was just telling them about your amazing students and the beautiful projects they create." The blatant lie hung awkwardly between us. Gerald and his wife suddenly found their champagne glasses fascinating while the other attorneys shifted uncomfortably. "Really," I responded, my voice surprisingly calm, despite the storm raging inside. "Because from where I was standing, it sounded like you were explaining how embarrassed you are by my career and how quickly you plan to change it after we're married." Natalie's eyes darted around the group, clearly searching for escape. "Booker, you misunderstood. We were just discussing different career options." Everyone was sharing stories about career changes. "How long have you been ashamed of what I do?" I asked, quietly maintaining eye contact despite her attempts to look away. "Was it from the beginning? Or did it develop gradually as you climbed the corporate ladder?" "This isn't the place for this conversation," she hissed, attempting to guide me away from the group. "You're making a scene." I stood my ground, refusing to be moved. "I think this is exactly the right place, since these are the people you felt comfortable sharing your true feelings with." The gathering had grown silent now, other conversations fading, as attention turned toward our confrontation. Natalie's professional mask was slipping panic, replacing her usual composed demeanor. "Look," I continued, keeping my voice level, "I've spent years supporting your career choices because they fulfilled you. I attended these events, listened to case details for hours, celebrated every promotion because I respected your passion. I never once asked you to be someone different." "Booker, please," she whispered urgently. "We can discuss this at home." "There's nothing to discuss," I replied. "I finally understand how you see me now. Someone to be fixed, improved, made presentable to your colleagues. Someone whose passion is embarrassing rather than admirable." With deliberate movements, I reached for her left hand. The 3-carat diamond caught the light as I slowly removed it from her finger. "I can't marry someone who fundamentally disrespects what I do and who I am," I stated clearly, placing the ring in her palm and closing her fingers around it. "The engagement is over, Natalie." The shocked silence that followed felt like it extended for minutes, though it was likely only seconds. Natalie's expression cycled rapidly through disbelief, anger, and finally desperate pleading. "You can't be serious," she stammered. "Over one stupid comment, I had too much champagne. I was just trying to fit in with these people." "These people," I replied, gesturing to the uncomfortable attorneys still witnessing our exchange, "now know exactly who you are. Someone willing to belittle her partner to impress her colleagues. That's not who I want to spend my life with." Gerald cleared his throat awkwardly. "Perhaps we should give you two some privacy," he suggested already, backing away with his wife in tow. The other attorneys quickly dispersed, leaving us in a small island of space within the crowded room. Natalie grabbed my arm, her composure completely shattered. "You're overreacting. Everyone says things they don't mean sometimes." "That's just it," I responded gently, removing her hand. "I think you meant every word. And that's why this relationship can't continue." As I turned to leave, Thomas appeared at my side, concern evident in his expression. "Need company walking out," he offered quietly. I nodded gratefully, unable to trust my voice further. We walked silently to the elevator bank Natalie, following several steps behind, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas that I ignored completely. The ride down 60 floors felt eternal. When we reached the lobby, Thomas offered to call me a cab, but I declined, needing the cold December air to clear my head. Natalie followed me to the parking garage, her high heels clicking rapidly on the concrete. "So that's it, 3 years thrown away because your feelings got hurt," she demanded, grabbing my shoulder as I unlocked my car. "This is childish, Booker." I turned to face her one last time. "No, Natalie. Childish would be pretending I didn't hear what you really think of me. Childish would be ignoring that you see my career as something shameful rather than valuable. I deserve someone who respects me completely, not just when we're alone." The drive home passed in a blur of streetlights and radio static. My apartment, the one we had shared for 2 years, felt suddenly foreign. I methodically packed essentials into a duffel bag while ignoring the constant vibration of my phone. On the counter, I left my key alongside a brief note. "We'll arrange to get the rest of my things later. Please respect my decision." That night in a downtown hotel room, I finally allowed the emotions to surface. Anger, grief, and oddly relief crashed through me in waves until exhaustion finally pulled me into dreamless sleep. When morning light filtered through unfamiliar curtains, one certainty remained. I didn't regret walking away despite the pain of losing the future we had planned. The 3 months following that December night were among the most challenging of my life. Extracting myself from a 3-year relationship and broken engagement involved painful logistics, separating finances, dividing shared possessions, and explaining the situation to confused friends and disappointed relatives. My parents, initially shocked by the abrupt ending, stood firmly behind my decision once I explained what had transpired. Natalie's attempts at reconciliation came in predictable waves. First, angry accusations. "You humiliated me in front of my entire firm." Then logical appeals. "We can work through this misunderstanding," followed by tearful nostalgia. "Remember how happy we were on our trip to California?" And finally, negotiation. "I'll go to couples therapy if that's what you want." Each approach met the same response: my respectful but firm commitment to moving forward separately. "It wasn't just what you said," I explained during one of our final conversations. "It was the realization that you've been trying to change me all along, seeing my career as something temporary rather than central to my identity." Her response was telling. "I just wanted what was best for us." "No," I corrected gently. "You wanted what looked best to others." I found unexpected solace in my classroom. While my personal life unraveled, my teaching became even more focused and intentional. Students noticed my extra workshop hours, many staying after school to work on independent projects under my guidance. Their genuine appreciation for skills I taught reminded me daily of the value in my chosen profession. The small 2-bedroom apartment I found closer to school became a fresh start. I filled it with handcrafted furniture pieces I had built over the years, items Natalie had relegated to the spare room in our shared space. My dining table made from reclaimed barnwood, the Adirondack chairs that had never fit her decorating vision, the walnut bookshelf with hand-carved details, all found their proper places in my new home. When spring arrived, I launched a weekend workshop for underprivileged youth through the community center, teaching basic carpentry skills to kids who had never held proper tools. Their pride in completing simple projects, birdhouses, toolboxes, picture frames, reaffirmed everything I loved about teaching practical craftsmanship. The local newspaper ran a feature about the program, leading to community donations of materials and additional volunteers. I ran into Natalie unexpectedly at a coffee shop 6 months after our breakup. The confident, polished attorney I remembered appeared somewhat diminished, dark circles under her eyes, tension evident in her posture. We exchanged awkward pleasantries before she asked if we could talk properly. Over cooling lattes, she finally offered the honest reflection I had needed months earlier. "I was trying to create a certain kind of life," she admitted, "and I convinced myself you would eventually want the same things. The truth is, I always saw your teaching as temporary because it didn't fit the image I was building." "I never pretended to be someone different," I reminded her. "I know," she replied quietly. "That was all me projecting what I thought you should become. I miss your authenticity more than anything else. The firm feels so hollow sometimes." We parted with genuine wishes for each other's happiness. That conversation provided closure I hadn't realized I still needed, confirming that walking away had been necessary for both of us. Life continued to evolve in unexpected ways. I met Laura, an art teacher who transferred to Westlake High the following fall. Our shared commitment to creative education formed the foundation for a relationship built on genuine, mutual respect. When I explained my broken engagement, her response was refreshing. Anyone who doesn't value teaching doesn't understand how it shapes the future. A year after the fateful holiday party, I received a promotion to department head for all industrial arts programs in the district. I also launched a small custom furniture business operating from a rented workshop space, creating commissioned pieces on weekends and during summer breaks. Several of my former students became part-time apprentices learning advanced techniques while earning fair wages for their work. The greatest lesson from my experience with Natalie wasn't about relationships but about personal integrity. I realized that compromising your authentic self to meet someone else's expectations only leads to eventual resentment and pain. True partnership requires accepting each other completely, finding value in your differences rather than trying to eliminate them. I sometimes wonder what might have happened if I hadn't overheard Natalie's comments that night. How many years might I have spent trying to become someone else to maintain her respect? How much of myself would I have surrendered before realizing the cost was too high? Sometimes the most painful moments bring the greatest clarity, redirecting us toward more authentic lives. The wooden sign hanging in my workshop hand carved during those difficult months after the breakup serves as my daily reminder: create a life you don't need to explain or apologize for. Have you ever had to choose between your passion and someone else's expectations? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more about authentic living and maintaining self-respect in relationships. Share with anyone who might be struggling to honor their true path, despite pressure to change. Thank you for listening, and remember, the right people will celebrate what makes you unique, not try to change it.